The moon rose full and pale above the Blackridge Mountains, pouring silver light over the ancient stone hall where the Lycans gathered. Torches burned with blue flame, casting long shadows that seemed to breathe along the walls. Tonight was the night of oaths, a night when Pax pledged loyalty to the Lycan King himself. Elara had not meant to be here. She stood at the far edge of the great hall, fingers clenched around the rough wool of her cloak, heart hammering like a trapped bird. The scent of wolves filled the air, pine, smoke, iron, and something darker that hummed beneath her skin. Power, too much of it. It pressed against her lungs, made the room tilt. She was only a healer, half-blooded, invisible. At least, she had always been invisible before tonight. At the center of the hall stood King Kyle Raverin, the Lycan King, tall, broad-shouldered, his presence bending the air around him. His dark hair fell loose down his back, streaked with silver that caught the torchlight. His eyes, sharp and ancient, glowed faintly gold as he listened to the Alpha Lords swear their fealty. He had ruled for over a century without a mate. They said his wolf was ruthless. They said his control was legendary. They said he had no mercy left in him. Elara tried not to look at him. The moment their eyes met, something went wrong. The hall seemed to lurch. A heat bloomed in her chest, sudden, violent, unfamiliar. Her knees weakened. The voices around her blurred into a distant roar, like the sea crashing against cliffs. No. Not now. She reached for the wall, but the stone slipped past her fingers. Darkness curled at the edges of her vision. She fainted. Gas rippled through the hall as her body collapsed forward. She never hit the ground. Strong arms caught her mid-fall, crushing her gently, but possessively against a broad, unyielding chest. The world snapped back into focus in fragments, the scent of night and storm, the thunder of a heart that was not her own, and a low, dangerous growl vibrating through her bones. King Cal had moved without thinking. The instant her scent hit him, wild, soft, threaded with something ancient, his wolf surged forward, roaring inside his skull. He caught her before her cloak even brushed the stone. Silence fell. Every alpha in the hall froze as their king held an unconscious woman in his arms. Kale looked down at her face and lost control. Her skin glowed faintly under the moonlight spilling through the high windows. Strange markings shimmered at her throat, vanishing as quickly as they appeared. Her pulse fluttered wildly beneath his fingers, too fast, too fragile. She was not ordinary. His wolf snarled, "Mine." Kale stiffened, jaw tightening as he fought the instinct to bare his fangs, to shield her from every eye in the room. He had felt desire before. Hunger, rage. But this was recognition. "Clear the hall," he commanded, his voice low and lethal. No one questioned him. As the Lycans retreated, Kale adjusted his grip, pulling Elara closer, shielding her instinctively. The moment her head rested against his chest, her breathing steadied, as if her body recognized safety there. That terrified him. He had sworn never to let anyone close enough to weaken him again. Yet as he carried her from the hall, his wolf pressed hard against his control, whispering a single truth he could not deny. The girl who fainted in his arms was not a coincidence. She was a beginning, and whatever he had just seen beneath her skin was powerful enough to shatter kingdoms. The chamber of the king. Kale carried her through the silent corridors of Blackridge Keep, his boots echoing against stone older than most kingdoms. The castle seemed to hold its breath as he passed, torches dimming, shadows bowing. Every instinct in him screamed to run, to put distance between her and the rest of the world. The woman in his arms stirred. Elara's lashes fluttered, her brow creasing as if caught in a half-remembered dream. Cal felt it instantly, the shift in her scent, the soft pull in his chest tightening like a chain drawn too fast. He clenched his jaw. Control, always control. He pushed open the heavy doors to his private chamber and stepped inside. Moonlight flooded the room through tall arched windows, washing over a massive bed carved from dark oak, over shelves lined with ancient tomes, over weapons mounted like relics of war. He laid her down gently, far more gently than any beast like him should have been capable of. The moment his hands left her, his wolf snarled in protest. Cal stepped back, fists clenched at his sides, breathing slow and deep. He had faced armies without fear. He had ripped traitors apart with his bare hands. But the fragile rise and fall of her chest undid him. "Why do you smell like the old magic?" he muttered. Elara's eyes opened. They were not the dull brown he had glimpsed in the hall. In the moonlight, they shimmered, warm amber laced with silver, like a storm trapped in honey. She sucked in a sharp breath when she saw him. The Lycan King. Up close, he was terrifying, towering, scarred, his golden eyes burning with something too intense to name. Elara tried to sit up, panic flashing across her face. I shouldn't be here, she whispered, voice hoarse. I'll go. I didn't mean to cause trouble. She swung her legs over the side of the bed, dizziness hitting her again. Cal moved before she could fall a second time, hands gripping her shoulders. The contact exploded between them. A shock of heat ripped through Cal's body, his wolf surging so hard he nearly shifted. Elara gasped, fingers clutching his tunic as a strange warmth bloomed beneath her skin, spreading outward like fire-chasing veins. Neither of them breathed. Slowly, painfully, Cal released her. You fainted in my hall, he said, forcing his voice into calm authority. You will not leave until I know why. Elara swallowed. It was the crowd, the power. I'm sensitive to it. Cal's eyes dropped to her throat. The markings flared again, this time clearer. Silver lines curved along her skin like phases of the moon before fading. His control cracked. What are you? He demanded, stepping closer, his presence filling the space until she could feel him everywhere. Fear flickered in her eyes, but beneath it something else. Recognition. I don't know, she said honestly. I was told my mother was human. My father died before I was born. I heal faster than most, feel things I shouldn't. That's all lies. Or half-truths. The old magic did not choose at random. Cal turned away abruptly, dragging a hand through his hair. If the council saw those markings, they would tear her apart in the name of balance. You will stay here tonight, he said, his back to her. Under my protection. Her breath hitched. Why would you do that for me? Because my wolf would burn the world if you left. He did not say it. Instead, he faced her once more, eyes dark, voice dangerously low. Because whatever you are, he said, every enemy I have will want you, and because the moment I caught you, I saw something I was never meant to see. Her pulse leapt. What did you see? Cal stepped close enough that she could feel the heat of him, smell storm and steel and moonlight. Fate, he answered. Outside, thunder rolled across the mountains, as if the sky itself agreed. And deep within Blackridge Keep, something ancient began to wake. The mark that should not exist. Elara barely slept. Every time her eyes closed, she felt him, his hands, his heat, the dangerous calm wrapped around barely restrained violence. The king's chamber smelled like him, iron, pine, and moonlit rain. It sank into her skin, followed her breath, made her pulse race in ways she didn't understand. Near dawn, the pain came. A sharp, burning ache flared at the base of her throat. Elara gasped and bolted upright, fingers flying to her neck. Beneath her touch, the skin was hot, too hot. A faint silver glow pulsed between her fingers like a heartbeat. No, please, she whispered. The door slammed open. Cal was there instantly, bare chest streaked with moonlight, eyes blazing gold. His wolf surged the moment he sensed her distress. What's happening? He demanded, crossing the room in 2 strides. It hurts, Elara said, voice shaking. It's never done this before. Cal knelt in front of her, hands hovering just short of touching her skin. He could see it now, clear as an omen. The mark forming at her throat was not random. It was a sigil, ancient, forbidden, a Lycan bond mark, impossible. His breath went shallow. This cannot be happening. What does that mean? Elara asked, fear threading her words. Cal closed his eyes for a heartbeat, wrestling his wolf into submission. When he opened them again, the beast was still there, watching, waiting. It means, he said slowly, that my wolf recognizes you as something you should not be. Her stomach dropped. Something dangerous. His gaze softened, just barely. Something claimed. The word hit her like a physical blow. I didn't choose this, she said quickly. I would never try to bind a king. I know, Cal said, which is why this terrifies me. He finally touched her, 2 fingers pressing gently below the glowing sigil. The pain eased instantly, replaced by a warmth that made her breath catch. Elara stared at him. You did that? Yes. His jaw tightened, and no other Lycan should be able to. That truth sent a ripple of dread through him. If the council discovered the mark, they would declare her an abomination. Half-blood or not, She would be executed to prevent a destabilized throne. A knock thundered at the door. "Your Majesty," came the voice of Alpha Rurik, heavy with suspicion. "The council requests an audience." Now, Kyle's eyes flashed. "They felt it," he muttered. Alara's hands trembled. "I'll go. I don't want to cause—" "No." Kale rose to his full height, power rolling off him in waves. "You will not face them alone." He removed a ring from his finger, black iron etched with runes, and pressed it into her palm. "This will hide the mark," he said. "Do not take it off." Her fingers closed around it. "Why are you risking everything for me?" Kale leaned down until his forehead touched hers. The contact sent a shiver through both of them. "Because centuries ago," he said quietly, "a prophecy was carved into the bones of this realm." Her breath stilled. "When the moon marks the unclaimed," he continued, "the king will either find his mate or lose himself to the beast forever." Footsteps echoed outside the door. Voices rose. Kale straightened, slipping his crown into place, his expression hardening into the mask of a ruler. But as he offered Alara his hand, his thumb brushed her pulse, possessive, reverent. "Stay close to me," he said. "From this moment on, your life and mine are bound." The doors opened, and the council walked in, unaware that the balance of power had already begun to crumble. Before the Council of Blood, the council chamber was carved deep into the heart of Blackridge Keep, a circular room of obsidian stone where even sound seemed to kneel. Runes glowed faintly beneath the floor, ancient wards meant to restrain kings and monsters alike. Alara felt them the moment she stepped inside. The iron ring Cal had given her grew warm, pulsing softly against her skin, hiding the silver mark beneath, but not the weight pressing on her chest. 12 thrones formed a circle, 12 Alpha Lords, 12 pairs of eyes sharp and unforgiving, and Kale stood at the center. Why was the Night of Oaths interrupted? Alpha Rurik demanded, his scarred face twisted with barely hidden anger. Why did your power surge through the keep like a battle cry? Kale did not raise his voice. "A guest fell ill," he said, calmly acted. Murmurs rippled around the chamber. A female Lycan rose from her seat, Lady Valeth, Keeper of Lore, her pale eyes fixed on Alara like knives. "That girl carries old magic," Valeth said. "I felt it awaken." Alara's breath hitched, but Kale's hand closed around hers, firm, anchoring. The contact sent a quiet reassurance through her veins, as if his strength flowed willingly into her. "She is under my protection," Kale said. Silence slammed down. No one claimed protection lightly, not even a king. Rurik leaned forward. "Protection implies value, or possession." Cal's jaw tightened. "Choose your words carefully." Valeth's gaze narrowed. "Remove the ring, girl." Alara froze. Before she could react, Kale stepped forward, power erupting from him like a storm breaking free. The runes in the floor flared bright as the council felt his dominance crash into them. "No," Kale growled. The sound was more wolf than man. "You will not touch her." Gasps echoed. Never in living memory had a Lycan King openly threatened the council. Valeth rose slowly. "If the mark exists," she said softly, "the realm must know." Alara's heart pounded. The ring burned now, fighting to conceal the truth. She looked up at Kale, fear and trust warring in her eyes. "Kale," she whispered, not meaning to say his name aloud. The sound of it, soft, intimate, snapped something inside him. He turned to face the council fully. "There will be no execution," he said, "no trials, no blood." Rurik scoffed. "You would break centuries of law for a half-blood." Kyle's eyes glowed molten gold. "I would burn centuries of law to protect what is mine." The words echoed like a death sentence. The ring shattered. Silver light exploded from Alara's throat, the mark blazing into existence, full and undeniable. The sigil pulsed in time with Cal's heart, visible to every alpha in the room. The council recoiled. "A true bond mark," Valeth breathed. "But she is unclaimed, human-born." "This should not be possible," another alpha whispered. Kale moved without thought, placing himself between Alara and the council, arms spread slightly as if daring them to try. "She is my fate," he said. "And if any of you challenge that, you challenge me." For a moment no one spoke. Then the runes cracked. A shockwave tore through the chamber as something ancient answered the bond's call. The wards, meant to restrain kings, failed. Outside, wolves howled in unison across the mountains. Valeth sank back into her throne, shaken. "The prophecy, it's begun." Alara's knees buckled. Kyle caught her, again lifting her effortlessly into his arms. This time, he did not release her. "Council is dismissed," he said, voice final. "Prepare the realm." As he carried her out, Alara clutched his chest, overwhelmed. "What happens now?" she whispered. Kale lowered his head, brushing his lips close to her ear, not a kiss but a promise. "Now," he said, "they will try to take you from me." His wolf purred, dark and satisfied. "And they will fail." The night the beast broke free, Blackridge Keep did not sleep. The bond mark at Alara's throat glowed softly as Kale carried her through the hidden corridors known only to kings. Each step echoed with urgency. The wolves outside still howled, a chorus answering something far older than command. Something claimed. Kale sealed the iron doors of the inner sanctum with his own blood, pressing his palm to the stone. Runes flared crimson, locking the chamber from every outside force. "You're safe here," he said, lowering Alara onto the bed at the room's center. Alara sat up, clutching the fabric over her chest. The mark pulsed warmly now, not painful, but alive. "They looked at me like I was a weapon." "You are," Cal replied honestly, "just not the way they think." He turned away, pacing like a caged predator. The bond pulled at him with every step, dragging his wolf closer to the surface. He could feel her fear, her confusion, her racing heart, as if it were his own. "This was dangerous. Lara," he said roughly, stopping. "There are rules to this bond. Lines we cannot cross until you understand what you are becoming." She lifted her chin. "Then tell me." Before he could speak, pain tore through him. Kale staggered, a guttural snarl ripping from his chest as his wolf surged violently forward. Silver light exploded beneath his skin, veins darkening, bones shifting with a sickening crack. "No." Alara scrambled off the bed. "Kale." He dropped to one knee, claws tearing through his fingers as his control shattered. The sanctum shook, dust raining from the ceiling. "I'm losing him," he growled, voice splitting between man and beast. "The bond, it's accelerating the change." Alara's instinct screamed to run. Instead, she ran to him. She dropped to her knees, pressing her glowing mark to his chest. The contact sent a shockwave of warmth through both of them, the silver light surging brighter. Kale froze, the pain vanished. His transformation halted mid-shift, the wolf retreating with a low, unwilling growl. Alara gasped as visions flooded her mind. Moons burning in black skies, a throne of bone, a king kneeling before a woman crowned in silver fire. She pulled back, shaking. "I saw us." Kale stared at her in awe. "You calmed my beast?" "I didn't know how," she whispered. "I just felt him, like he was drowning." Silence filled the sanctum. Heavy and charged, Kyle reached for her face, stopping just short of touching. "No one but a true mate can do that." Her breath caught. "Then why am I afraid?" "Because this bond doesn't just unite," he said softly. "It changes. It consumes." Outside the sanctum, unseen by either of them, a shadow detached itself from the stone walls, a figure cloaked in void, eyes burning red. The blood seer smiled. "The moon-bound queen has awakened," he whispered, "and the king will not survive her rise." Inside, Alara leaned into Kyle's touch at last, unaware that the bond binding them had just painted a target on her heart. And the night had only begun. Alara woke screaming. Moonlight shattered across the sanctum walls as she bolted upright, breath tearing from her lungs. Her skin burned not with pain, but with a cold, crawling awareness, as if unseen eyes were tracing her veins. Kale was at her side instantly. "Easy," he said, hands steady as they gripped her shoulders. "You're safe." She shook her head violently. "No." Someone was here. Kyle's wolf surged, senses flaring. He scented the air, stone, blood, magic, and something else. Old rotting. Wrong, he swore under his breath. The warding runes flickered. "I felt him too," Kale admitted. "The blood seer." Alara's heart sank. "You know him." Cal's jaw tightened. "I buried his name a century ago. He was once Lycan, once royal blood. He chose prophecy over loyalty." As if summoned by the words, the shadows at the far wall thickened, pulling together like spilled ink. A figure stepped forward, tall, emaciated. His eyes burned crimson beneath a hood stitched with bone runes. The air iced over as his voice slithered through the sanctum. "Still hiding behind walls, my king." Cal shifted instantly, placing himself between Alara and the seer. "You will not touch her." The blood seer smiled. "Touch her? No, I've already seen her." Alara's mark flared violently. she cried out, dropping to her knees as visions crashed into her mind. Wolves kneeling in blood-soaked snow, a crown cracking beneath silver fire, Kale standing alone, roaring her name into an empty sky. Kale caught her, holding her tight. "Stop this!" he roared. The seer tilted his head. "You cannot stop fate. Only choose which ending you bleed for." He turned his burning gaze to Alara. "Moon-bound queen," he whispered. "You are the balance, life or extinction." Alara forced herself to meet his eyes. "Then tell me how to save him." The seer's smile widened. "You Kale," snarled, power exploding outward. The sanctum shook as he lunged, but the blood seer dissolved into shadow, his laughter echoing long after he vanished. Silence fell. Alara collapsed against Kyle's chest, shaking. He said, "You'll die." Kyle held her, jaw clenched so hard it ached. "Prophecies lie, but not completely," she whispered. He lifted her chin, forcing her to look at him. "Listen to me. If the world demands my life for yours, I will give it without hesitation." Her eyes filled with tears. "Don't say that. It's already decided," he said softly. Outside the sanctum, horns sounded 3 long blasts. An alarm. Kale's expression hardened. "They're moving sooner than I thought." "Who?" "The council," he said. "And every pack that fears what you might become." He pulled her to her feet, pressing his forehead to hers. "From this moment on, you train. You learn, you fight." "I'm not a warrior," Alara whispered. Kyle's lips brushed her brow, a touch so tender it hurt. "You are my mate." The bond flared bright between them. "And that," he said, "makes you the most dangerous thing this realm has ever seen." Far below the keep, in the shadows of the forest, wolves with eyes of silver gathered, drawn by the queen they had never known they were waiting for. The war for fate had begun. Dawn bled slowly over Blackridge, painting the mountains in shades of ash and fire. Alara stood at the edge of the high training terrace, the cold stone biting through her bare feet. She had not been allowed shoes. "Feel the ground," Kale said from behind her. "If you can't anchor yourself, the magic will tear you apart." She nodded, jaw tight, breath steadying as she pressed her toes into the frost-slick stone. The bond hummed between them, quiet but constant, like a second heartbeat. Below them, wolves gathered in the lower courtyard. Not guards, not soldiers, witnesses. "Why are they watching?" Alara asked. "Because the realm has already chosen sides," Kale replied, "and they want to see what you are." He circled her slowly, eyes sharp. "Close your eyes." She obeyed. "Now listen," he murmured. "Not with your ears. With what woke inside you." At first there was nothing. Then everything. The wind carried voices. The stone beneath her whispered of blood spilled centuries ago. The wolves below felt like sparks in a vast constellation, each one tugging faintly at her chest. Alara gasped. Kale caught her as her knees buckled, steadying her without breaking her focus. "Good," he said quietly. "You're opening." Her mark ignited, silver light spilling across her collarbones. A wolf below howled, another joined, then dozens. Alara's eyes snapped open, glowing silver white. The wolves dropped to their knees. The courtyard fell silent. Kale stared in stunned awe. "By the moon." "I didn't tell them to do that," Alara whispered. "You didn't have to," he said. "They recognize you?" A ripple of panic cut through her wonder. "This is wrong. They'll call me a usurper." Kale stepped in front of her, facing the kneeling wolves. "Then let them." His voice rolled across the stone like thunder. "You kneel because you choose to, not because she commands." The wolves lifted their heads, but none stood. A voice rang out from the terrace steps. "So the rumors are true." Lady Valeth emerged from the shadows, flanked by armed sentinels. Her gaze fixed on Alara's glowing eyes with open fear. "The packs will never follow a queen without bloodline," Valeth said. "She has no crown, no trial, no claim." Alara swallowed. "I don't want a throne." Valeth smiled thinly. "Power doesn't care what you want." Kyle's hand found Alara's. "Say what you came to say, Valeth." The lore keeper's eyes hardened. "The council has voted. The moonbound must undergo the rite of severance." Alara's blood ran cold. "What is that?" Kale's grip tightened. "You will not touch her? The rite tests whether her bond is true," Valeth said. "If it is not, the bond breaks." "And if it is?" Alara asked softly. Valeth didn't answer. Kale did. His voice was rough, furious. "If it is, it will try to kill me." Silence crashed down. Alara turned to him, horror flooding her face. "You said training. You didn't say this. I was hoping to buy time, Kale admitted. But the council is afraid. Valeth inclined her head. At the next full moon the rite will be performed. Or the packs will rise in rebellion. She turned and left. The wolves below slowly rose uneasy, conflicted. Alara stared at Kale, heartbreaking. There has to be another way. Cal cupped her face, pressing his forehead to hers. If there is, we'll find it? The bond pulsed between them, uncertain, strained, but unbroken. Above them, the moon hung pale in the sky, counting down the days. And fate waited.